Premier Doug Ford providing a glimpse for the first time today into how Donald Trump's proposed tariffs could impact jobs here in this province. Ford laying out a stark prospect of job losses as he continues his fight against a tariff threat. Lane Harrison has the details.
We're the ones with the target on our back.
Premier Doug Ford offered a blunt warning about the threat of American tariffs, with Donald Trump's second administration and his potentially crushing tariffs on Canadian goods only days away.
I was getting numbers yesterday from the ministries. It could cost 500,000 jobs. This is serious. It's unprecedented.
On social media Tuesday, Trump didn't relent, saying he'll establish a government agency next Monday to collect tariffs. Ford says to soften their impact, his government may need to spend tens of billions of dollars, but he offered no indication how that money would flow to people or businesses. One trade expert says Ford's job loss estimation is likely spot on.
You have less employment, people consume less, you have a very depressed consumer sentiment. This will trigger into retail jobs, into hospitality jobs, and so on that are being lost. So there's a multiplying effect when people are getting laid off. The first 100,000 may be direct effects of the tariffs, but the remaining 300,000 or the additional 300,000 are a fact of these compounding effects.
Ford has been pitching a stronger U.S.-Canada partnership in the face of Trump's tariffs and has been critical of the federal government's approach.
The federal government, I have to say, I'm going to be blunt, they need to get their act together.
But changed his tune after meeting with Federal Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc.
I was talking about the border, security, and Minister LeBlanc laid out the plan. It's a fabulous plan. Let's get out there and tell the people of Canada they've worked hard on it. So what I said this morning after seeing the plan, it's a solid plan.
LeBlanc says there will be $1.3 billion spent on border security, a figure already made public in the fall economic statement.
To give the RCMP and CBSA things like high-range drones, long-range drones, surveillance towers, 80 new canine units to search fentanyl at the border, a sort of joint air command that will include new, pretty visible helicopters for the RCMP.
LeBlanc wouldn't offer specifics on how many job losses the federal government expects. He says Canadians will learn next week just how exactly these tariffs will impact the country. Ford and the rest of Canada's premiers will meet with Justin Trudeau to continue discussing a tariff response Wednesday. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
The federal Liberal leadership race is narrowing and getting clearer. Two well-known names are bowing out, and a big outside contender was on an American late-night talk show to drop hints about joining in. Ashley Burke has the latest from Ottawa.
A surprise late-night TV appearance to soft-launch a high-profile campaign.
He's a Canadian economist, former governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England. Please welcome to the program, Mark Carney. Sir!
The former central banker, who's rarely seen on Canadian TV, teasing his bid to become Liberal leader on the set of a popular American show with lots of Canadian fans.
Have you offered yourself as leader?
I just started thinking about it when you brought it up.
Carney's actually long thought about it, and sources say he'll officially announce he's joining the race to replace Justin Trudeau on Thursday, at a time when Canadians want change.
It's really difficult for a candidate to come in who is saddled with the policies that are on.
But let's say the candidate wasn't part of the government. Let's say the candidate did have a lot of economic experience. Let's say the candidate did deal with crises. Let's say the candidate had a plan to deal with the challenges in the here and now.
Carney's teasing he's running while Canada's industry minister is being frank. He's out.
It was probably one of the most difficult decisions in my life, but I think it's the right one at the right time.
Former BC Premier Christy Clark also making the decision not to run. She's blaming her lack of time to campaign and her French skills that need improvement.
I came out and I supported Jean Charest.
But this interview on CBC's The House showing her lack of memory about joining the Conservative Party could have done her in.
You voted in the race, did you not?
No, I didn't. And I never got a membership. And I never got a ballot. What I did, though,
I will say, Christy Clark, we reached out to the Conservative Party, who told us, in fact, that your membership was cancelled.
That leaves a lot of space for the youngest contender, House Leader Karina Gould, who sources say will announce her bid this week.
I think it is extremely important that we have a younger voice in the race.
Those who want to lead the Liberal Party have to declare their intentions by next week. Sources say former Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is expected to launch her campaign by Monday. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
York police are highlighting what they call one of their most important partnerships, Crime Stoppers, which allows members of the public to submit anonymous tips. The police service releasing some numbers today showing how the program has proven helpful in solving cases. Ali Chiasson reports.
Right now, York Regional Police is looking for information on several suspects connected to York's most high-profile cases from this home invasion last November.
To date, 7 suspects have been arrested. We believe that 3 suspects are outstanding.
To this armed robbery at a spa.
Male suspect is currently outstanding. Aidan Murray, 19 years old, from Toronto, and he is wanted for robbery ×5, disguise ×5, and forcible confinement.
And this carjacking.
Through the investigation, the suspect was identified as Gianni Zail Singh Sidhu, 40 years old.
There are many others. January is Crime Stoppers Month, which is all about highlighting the relationship between Crime Stoppers, where people can report information anonymously, and police services.
It's more important now, if not any time, for people to call if they have information. As you can imagine, when you're dealing with violent criminals, the people, the friends they keep are probably not the folks that want to call the police.
Last year in York Region, more than 3,100 tips came in, and they can link 103 arrests to tips received through Crime Stoppers. They recovered $2.6 million in seized property and took $4.5 million worth of drugs off the street. And while it can be scary to call and report information, Crime Stoppers isn't just for people who can identify the suspects, but people with potential evidence they can submit anonymously.
They might have video surveillance in the neighborhood. They might have dash cam. These are all aspects that we're looking for and appealing for witnesses when we release these types of incidents and videos that have occurred.
Any little bit of information, they say, helps. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Aurora.
Closing arguments were made today in the trial of a man charged with the kidnapping of a 14-year-old boy nearly 5 years ago. Samir Abdelgadir allegedly kidnapped the boy for ransom to pressure his brother to pay for 90 kilograms worth of stolen cocaine. When the boy was forced into a vehicle, it triggered an Amber Alert and a massive search by Toronto police. Dale Manukduk has more.
Samir Abdelgadir, wearing a collared shirt and gray knit sweater, sat in a Toronto courtroom listening to closing arguments. He's charged with kidnapping a boy, 14 years old at the time, whose brother owed a drug debt. According to an agreed statement of facts, the boy was taken by 2 or 3 men outside a building near Jane and Finch on March 4th, 2020. He was forced into a black Jeep Wrangler and then held in a Brampton home. There he was tied up and kept in the basement and a boiler room. Court exhibits show the boy drew his initials in the dust of a mirror. He was found unharmed a day later in a Brampton barn. 5 men were originally charged. 1 had their charges stayed, 2 pled guilty to lesser charges, and another was murdered 2 years after the kidnapping. Abdelgadir is the last one remaining. During the trial, the boy's brother testified that he received a call from Abdelgadir and an associate demanding that he pay for 90 kilograms worth of cocaine stolen a year earlier. He also says he recorded that conversation. However, it does not include the part he says Abdelgadir demanded the money. He also received a Snapchat saying, "Give us what you stole and everything will be okay." The boy's brother says that he knew it was Abdelgadir because he has a distinct voice that he knew from his relationship in the drug world. The Crown says 3 vehicles were involved in the kidnapping: the Jeep Wrangler, a black Chevy Tahoe, and a white Mercedes-Benz. Evidence presented at trial shows those 3 vehicles arriving near the site of the kidnapping and then at separate times coming and going from the Brampton home the boy was being held. The Crown says that Abdelgadir was either driving the Tahoe that day or at the very least allowed for the Tahoe to be at his home prior to the kidnapping. Surveillance photos from an unrelated OPP drug investigation show the Tahoe coming and going from Abdelgadir's home. There's also photos taken from Woodbine Mall of the Tahoe and 3 men exiting. The Crown says one of the men was Abdelgadir. The defense argues the pictures are grainy and should not be considered in the ruling, and that the cops who identified Abdelgadir through those photos don't know him well enough to have done so. He also raised concerns about the reliability of certain witnesses. While the Crown says that the case is wholly circumstantial, they say that the only reasonable inference to make is that Abdelgadir was either driving the Tahoe and responsible for the kidnapping or aided and abetted those involved. The judge wasn't so sure that that was the case, probing the Crown on several issues. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontarians can expect their $200 rebate checks later this month or early next month, but one group is encouraging those who are able to donate that money to charity, saying it could make more of a lasting difference for those struggling with affordability.
Feed Ontario has said that they can stretch every donated dollar to 2 meals. And that would mean that $200 would be 400 meals. When we put our money together, we can do more for more people. And I think as a society, we have to look at what we care about and what actual change we want to see happen in those areas.
Aaron Brubaker helped found the website 200dollars.ca. It features ways to support thousands of charities and allows people to pledge their donations, which she hopes will inspire others. The initiative comes as many in Ontario struggle with rising housing and food costs.
So our cost to support the population in Toronto has increased dramatically. In fact, it's increased from about $1.5 million per year to $29 million per year. So we've had massive escalation in terms of our costs just to provide the same level of service.
Hetherington says there were 3.5 million visits to food banks in Toronto last year. The rebate check program will cost the province $3 billion. Now, response to the government measure was mixed, but Brubaker hopes donating the money will unite residents. A North York community came together for a shining tribute tonight. In November, 13-year-old Tyler Cohen Wallace lost his battle with a rare disorder after years of care at Sick Kids Hospital. Well, now his family and friends are illuminating his memory and the legacy he leaves behind. Tyler Cheese has this story.
He loved inflatables.
This display of lights and inflatable decorations is all in memory of a boy who loved the holiday season. Tyler Cohen Wallace died in November after undergoing a complex heart surgery earlier in the month.
He had a condition called Loeys-Dietz syndrome, and we were told when he was first born that he may not make it through the first year. But through the diligence of Sick Kids Hospital and just through love and affection and community, he made it for 13 years.
In honor of their son and his love for the holidays, Cohen Wallace's family transformed their yard into Tyler's Wonderland.
We used to have the odd little inflatable out front, and we ended up, after Tyler passed, I had said to my husband, it would be really great if we could put up the inflatables and get more. And he wasn't sure whether he was up to it, but I said my dream is to have the whole yard covered in inflatables.
She also felt it would be a great opportunity to raise money for sick kids to give back after all the support Cohen Wallace received during his life.
So many people have been impacted by sick kids, either friends or family members, and we thought that was a cause near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, that they could kind of get behind that.
And the community has gotten behind it. Parents at Cohen Wallace's school organized an event for students and their families to come by the illuminated home to show their support.
As a parent, when something like this happens, you feel helpless. And for me, if there was something that we could do to give back to Tyler and to his family, was to get our community together as a parent community to come out and show support for an incredible young man who unfortunately his life was cut so short.
Cohen Wallace's parents say they're grateful for all the support and kind words from the community.
It means the world, Tyler's school, Dublin Heights, they have been amazing all throughout his entire school career. And, we really felt like a family there. We had forged, friendships and partnerships and everything else.
The fundraiser can be found on the Sick Kids Foundation's website. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. An Anishinaabe educator and dancer is hoping for the return of his regalia after it was stolen from his truck in downtown Toronto on Sunday. Tim McGregor spoke to CBC's Metro Morning host David Common about the significance of the pieces and the support he's received since the theft.
Can you describe to me the moment you realized this regalia was gone?
Oh yes, it was like from the high to the low. I went the night before to the Indigenous night at with the Leafs playing the Canucks, and went back to my hotel. As I was walking up Bay Street from the arena, I saw that my truck was still there, and I went to sleep very comfortably. And I woke up the next morning, had breakfast, and I looked across, and my truck was, nothing untoward about it. But when I got there, I found out that my tonneau cover on the back was slit on both sides. And anybody knows what the tonneau covers are. There's pins on the rear quarters panels that you have to pull to open them. Well, that's what happened. They pulled those pins and flipped it open, and my tonneau cover was flipped open. When I looked inside, my large suitcase was gone. And my heart sank then. I knew it was in there. I knew, that in my mind it was safe. Most times when I take that regalia, I take it for teaching moments at schools, and that's what I work for, and bring it out and talk about my regalia. It's got more spiritual significance, but it also has geography attached to it. It has history attached to it, and it's all very much a part of me, a part of the Anishinaabe Nation. So had that gone, that's why I said my heart sank, and knowing it was gone, I looked around the parking lot, of course, and it was nothing to be seen. That's when that's when it hit me.
There is a chance, I suppose, that whoever took this dumped it somewhere. And if someone else is walking past it, can you describe what it would look like, particularly if they're in the downtown core and might see it?
It's a good size luggage, like your biggest size luggage bag. It's about 3 feet tall, about 2 feet wide. It's a maroon color with Anishinaabe or Indigenous designs on it, and it's maroon colors. It's
and the regalia
it's a soft
itself?
cover. It is black, white, and red. It's beadwork. Every piece is beadwork, and it's quite heavy, and it's very important to me. And the shirt and outfit wear, it's red and white, so it's mostly all red and white with black.
I understand those colors had significance for your mother too.
Absolutely, absolutely. She was a well-known elder and dancer, and she danced for many decades. And when her I guess extremities weren't working as much as well as they should for dancing stuff, she asked me if I'd carry on that and wear her colors for her, which I do proudly. That was her colors, and has a special attachment to me. Those colors are very important to Anishinaabe, but so much so because my mom passed those on to me. It has really, really deep seated, rooted kind of a emotional connection to that.
Many kids who are listening will know this regalia because you, Tim, have been going to many, many schools across the GTA, teaching about Indigenous culture and Indigenous tradition, and using your regalia to describe it to the kids. What does this mean to that work, the loss of the regalia, to being able to do the outreach in schools?
It's a big loss. It's a big loss. A lot of times to post a video or a picture behind you when you're talking to someone puts it in context, but it's the importance is to see it, to see the pieces in front of you, and to have the kids that are sitting there can be able to touch it and feel it and have a look at it, and which I do. That's the best way to do, is just to pass it around, the pieces of regalia, that they can have a look at it. So it gives them that connection also too. It's very, very connection. So to go on from now on, I have older pieces. I guess I'll have to, my heart says it's going to come back. My heart says it's going to come back. So I'll sit tight for a while. It'll come back in with the way I believe. Our teachings tell us to put sema or tobacco down, and I've done that every morning and asked the higher power, Jimnadu, our creator, to take care of that and bring it back to me.
All right, Colette is here with a look at the forecast. And Colette, maybe not so much here in the city, but north of here, they could be getting quite a little bit of snow.
Yeah, that's right. The snowfall rate's quite high when we get into these squalls. It's so localized, but boy, when you're feeling it or you're in it, it really makes a difference. So some of those snowfall rates, not just 2 to 4, centimeters per hour, but could be even double that at times. So those are very localized areas, and we'll get into exactly where. But let's start off with just showing you an idea of what the record high and record low, we don't look at these that often, but I just want to show you, dream a little dream with me of where it is possible to go at this time of year. In fact, once we were almost to 13 degrees on this date in history. That was in 95. Obviously, it's also possible to go down to minus 25, so we're not there, although our wind chills at times have been getting close. And next week, we do have some much cooler that's moving in. But daytime highs today, definitely below seasonal. At this time of year, seasonal highs around -2 for Toronto, so the high today just -6. Those winds were certainly strong, and with that, we get the significant wind chills. Now, they're changing direction, so less from the west, becoming more northwesterly. That's going to push some of those squalls back into the northern portions of the GTA. So around Newmarket, through that region there, Georgina, Vaughan, you'll have the chance for getting at times some bursts of snow. So that's why the travel advisory there, and also London coming back in, at least towards North London, and certainly feeling it towards Goderich. Snow squall warnings through those regions, stretching over back in towards Midland, through that region too, where you're again going to have that lake effect snow machine going back on. So you can see those streamers coming off the lake and how they've changed direction as we go into tomorrow because of the northwesterly winds coming across Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. And then we have a system that's going to come through, and with that frontal boundary moving through on Thursday, actually for the city, for the GTA, not just northern sections, we get a little bit of a dusting of some light snow coming through. So call it a few centimeters there into Thursday, but prior to that, with the next couple of days, it is going to be in the lee of Lake Huron that you're going to see those areas 10 to perhaps 20 centimeters plus in terms of the accumulation. Tonight, -9 for the low. Winds are -8 to, I would say, to -10. You may have some areas that are certainly dropping to that -10. If anything, because we've already been there. -9 overnight for Toronto, but -3 tomorrow. We come up a little bit with those temperatures on the weekend, a little bit, and then that cold air moves in again next week.
Back
Coldest
and
of the
forth, as
season.
we say. Oh, yeah, I see that, -8. Okay. Thanks so much, Colette. That's all the time we have tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great night, everyone.